Welcome to 28.5 Women's Basketball, where we explore a unique and authentic perspective on the women's game, break down upcoming matchups, and discuss the latest news and trends in women's basketball. We are your hosts. I'm Sydney Story, and I played basketball at the University of Tennessee under Pat Summitt.
And I'm Becca Goodman, and I played at the University of Notre Dame under Muffet McGraw. And we're thrilled to have you join us today. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to tune in each week and don't forget to follow, download, and listen to give an assist and share the love. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hello, Sid, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2026 is here, and boy, is it off to a crazy start with all these upsets we've been seeing. Insane.
Absolutely insane. And it's only week one, not to mention week one, but while we're recording this, it's like really 4 days in. So not even a full week into the new year. And a lot of our undefeated teams had suffered some losses. So it's going to be a wild episode. I think, Sid, you and I could talk about this for probably 4 hours, but in order to get a digestible podcast episode, we're going to have to roll through quite a bit and highlight just some of the major points.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we could stir the pot here. And certainly the top 25 is about to be stirred when the new rankings come out. So I just want to preface that we're going to be talking through a lot of rankings, a lot of folks that were upset. And those rankings are going to change when this drops, right? Because we're recording this on Sunday night. It drops Monday morning. And there's going to be a lot of shuffling going on with the crazy, to your point, Becca, first 4-ish days of the year. So it's been wild, but let's get going.
Yeah, we have to get going or else we'll be here forever. So first quarter, we're going to highlight that new year, new upsets. Second quarter, we're going to talk about Notre Dame specifically, how they've been performing and just some transfers that have left the program and the success that they've had. Third quarter, we're going to have Sid dig into Tennessee, how they're looking and something to look forward to from that team or what they need to focus on. Fourth quarter, we're just it's just labeled Texas. And no, not the one you're thinking of, the other one in the Big 12. We'll get to that. So jumping into this first quarter, new year, new upsets, I just want to highlight on December 31st, there were 11 undefeated teams, which it's not make or break. That's not something that, you have to be undefeated by the end of the season. That's not the focus, but it is something to highlight. And when there's so many of them, that's bound to pop, right? So by January 1st, 1 day later, only 7 teams remained undefeated. And those were Arizona State, Texas, Iowa State, Vandy, TCU, UConn, and Texas Tech. But I don't want anybody to blink because on January 3rd, 2 of those 7 undefeated teams suffered losses. Arizona State lost to BYU, and number 8 TCU lost on the road in overtime to Utah. Remember when we said, don't blink? Well, that's because over the weekend, more happened, right? I know you guys I hope everybody's tuning in because this weekend alone has been pretty wild. But Sunday specifically, 4 remaining teams are undefeated. And those are Texas, Vandy, UConn, and Texas Tech, because Iowa State suffered a loss to Baylor. So as we're rolling here and now, they're out of the 11 undefeated teams that were available and they're on December 31st. We only have 4, Texas, Texas Tech, Vandy, and UConn. I think that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. Not surprised to see that UConn wasn't one of those teams that lost because let's just face it, their conference is not that strong. They're not turning around having to play in the SEC, Big Ten, or the ACC. So that's the beauty of conference play. I mean, you got to show up every single game, especially when you're on the road, and it's a grind, and every single game matters, and you're going to get teams A games. And I think it's interesting to see who's prepared a lot in the off season or maybe played tougher competition and how that's paid off here a little bit or not paid off if you didn't do it. I think LSU, we're going to talk about them and how they didn't do that. So yeah, it's mind boggling what's happened the past week in women's basketball, but that's what makes it fun and entertaining to watch. And I think we just got to jump into some of these upsets. What do you think, Beth?
Yeah, let's roll. We got it. There's so many.
Let's do it. Okay, so kicking off this year, 2026, on the very first day of the year, New Year's Day, 1/1/2026, we had 4 major upsets. Number 7, Maryland, upset by unranked Illinois, 70-73. It was the 11th consecutive win for Illinois. So Illinois really off to a really good season start for them. It's the best start in program history. So that'll be interesting to see if Illinois can compete with other teams in the Big Ten. That's just another team that's capable of knocking somebody off like they upset Maryland. So an interesting one there. Number 6, Michigan was upset by unranked Washington, 64-52. And I know, Becca, you watched this one. We texted a little bit about it, and you just said Michigan, just there was a lid on the basket. They struggled to score, just did not get a flow going on offense, and you could tell that their legs maybe were a little bit shell-shocked being out on the West Coast for a while there. Avery Howell had 22 points and a career high 16 rebounds to lead Washington in that victory. And what a victory that is. Number 6, Michigan, they're good. We've talked about them a ton. Their only loss, other than this one, was to number 1 UConn, and that was back in November. So I personally wanted to see Michigan win the Big Ten, win the conference, and that's not a good start for them if they're losing to teams like Washington. But I mentioned it. You and I talked about it, like being out on the West Coast and doing those longer trips where you got to play multiple games. They wear on you, I think, in the Big Ten. So that's interesting to see Michigan fall in that one. Number 5, LSU was upset by number 11, Kentucky, 78-80. I think you were not surprised by this because I wasn't. Were you surprised?
No. And I think we'll get into it eventually and maybe even now, but with the strength of schedule, I think people were highlighting how many 100-point games LSU had on their opponents. And it's like, you look at people and players and teams like Duke who had an NC State who had a crazy hard schedule to start, and now they're starting to get back in the flow because they had that experience and they're learning from it. Where I think LSU, they're going to be the topic of discussion of a couple upsets that we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kentucky had to play a really good game to beat them. It's not like LSU came in and wasn't prepared or ready to go. Tony Morgan hit a 3-pointer with 0.5 seconds left to lift Kentucky to that 80-78 win. And so I just think Kentucky can play, right? They've got Kenny Brooks. They're a different team this year, certainly, than last year. They don't have Georgia Amore. They don't have some of that star power. But I think Kentucky's going to hang here in the SEC and certainly got off to a good start with that win. LSU, I think this is worth mentioning in this game also. LSU lost the rebound battle 45-29.
Crazy.
That's crazy. That matters, I think, in a big way, especially when you're LSU and you rely so much on your second chance points and those fast break points. And so if you can't control the boards, you don't control momentum, you don't control the game. And I just think that's probably a huge factor and was a huge factor in that loss. And LSU goes down. Number 5, LSU goes down. That was an interesting. We're going to revisit LSU coming up here in a minute. Number 18, Notre Dame lost to unranked Georgia Tech in overtime, 90-95. Talia Walker scored 24 of her career high 33 points after halftime. I mean, I just think that's amazing, right? For any player to come out and score 24 points in a half is just, I mean, that's like Audie Crooks level right there. Yeah. So she had 10 rebounds, 6 assists, defeats the Irish there. We're going to revisit that whole scenario, what's going on. Do want to highlight, though, Hidalgo had 26 points. She tied a season high with 10 assists. 10 assists is like super impressive. Obviously, Hannah's playing every gosh darn minute right now for Notre Dame, and she's really distributing the ball, and every single offensive play involves Hannah. But 10 assists is a big feat there. Prosper had 19 and 10 rebounds. Prosper also stepping up big for Notre Dame in different ways, but they certainly need a lot of those players. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of those players, but the players that they do have to step up and score big points there. Hidalgo also had her 61st career game scoring 20-plus points. She did break Enrique's program record there on January 4th, so worth calling that out. I think we're going to see more and more records shattered by Hidalgo, which is fun to watch because she is that good of a player. We're going to revisit the Notre Dame thing, so I'm going to keep going here if you're cool with that, Becca.
Yep, sounds good.
Number 16, North Carolina lost to unranked Stanford in overtime, 77-71. This was a good game. I watched this one, and I really think Stanford owned the last couple minutes of the game. North Carolina gave it up to me. Didn't get buckets, didn't get stops, didn't take the game over. I just thought, honestly, that North Carolina is the better team. And so to see Stanford come in, beat North Carolina at North Carolina was a little bit shocking to me at the end of the game there. I thought North Carolina could have put it away and didn't. Courtney Ogden scored 21 points. Chloe Clardy scored 4 key points in overtime. And Stanford, as I mentioned, ended up defeating number 16 North Carolina 77-71. That happened on Sunday. It was a good game overall. I think it's good to see Stanford winning some of these games. We don't want Stanford to be irrelevant in the women's game because they are one of those blue blood programs. So a big win on the road for Stanford, especially starting ACC play. Number 18, Notre Dame turns around, loses again to unranked Duke, 68-82. We've talked a ton about Duke because of the tough non-conference schedule they've played to date. Heading into conference play, Duke was prepared because they had played a lot of really good teams, and they lost to a lot of them, right? They started the season ranked in the top 10, lost some of those games up front early, but I think they've learned a ton. I think they have momentum right now. I think they really are enjoying playing with each other. You can tell they've gotten better off those losses. And that's the opposite of the LSU effect, right? LSU didn't play anybody. Now they're starting to play folks, and I think it's tough for them. They're learning some of those things now in conference play, which is tougher to do. This is just my opinion. But Duke already hit some of those speed bumps and had to learn from them, adjust. I thought they came out and played pretty well against Notre Dame. I think we're going to learn how good Notre Dame is too. I don't think Duke is a top 10 team, but maybe they're turning the corner. We don't really know, right? We're going to watch them play the rest of ACC here, but they certainly came out and played pretty well. Toby Fournier, I thought, had one of her better games. We know she's capable of coming out and just being that glue for Duke. I thought she played pretty well. A couple of Duke players really did. So that one, an interesting one. We're going to revisit Notre Dame coming up here. Want to keep going here. Number 10, Iowa State lost to number 22, Baylor, 70-72. Audie Crooks. She had a huge first half. I think she is one of the most fun, should I say that? Most fun, most entertaining players to watch right now in our game. Like the sheer size that she brings, how she posts players up, how they get her the ball, but her turnaround face-up game is just unbelievable. So although Iowa State loses that one, it just was fun to watch her play. But man, Baylor came ready to go, and I just think Baylor maybe is the real deal here. This is their second top 10 win this year. They could really turn a corner. It's a good win for them. If they can win out more of the Big 12 here, I think we're going to continue to see them to climb. They were ranked number 22 at the time. Obviously, they're going to jump up in the polls a little bit here, but I think they're the real deal. Talia Scott is one of the better players in the country right now. I think she's a tough scout. And so overall, this game was such a good game, though. If you watched it, it was back and forth. It was close the entire game. You really didn't know how it was going to close out. And Iowa State ends up losing that one there. The last one here that I'm going to highlight is number 5, LSU lost number 12, Vandy, 65-61. This one was at Vanderbilt and had the markings of an upset, I think, all over it. Right? It was an alumni game. They had a lot of alumni in the stands, like honoring folks like Carolyn Peck and some of the old Vandy alumni there. And LSU was coming off that loss from Kentucky. And it's a tough environment. It's a tough place to play. I hated that. And we had to play them every year at Vandy because we played them twice. And it's just a whole different feel in there. And it really is kind of a home court advantage, to be honest, because it's so echoey in there, and you just have the layout's just different. So I think anytime Vandy's got a decent team, it's a brew. It brews for an upset. And I think Michaela Blake's really was everything for Vandy. That's the thing about Vandy is they're not super deep. LSU's deep. Like they've got a lot of players that can score a lot of points when they need to. But Michaela Blake's scored 32 points, and their freshman Aubrey Galvin hit a 3-pointer with 2 minutes left and really lifted number 12 Vandy ahead of LSU. And it was such a good game. Like of all the games here, and there were a lot of really good games and upsets, this one I probably enjoyed the most just because, Vandy's historically a decent program, but beating a number 5 LSU is kind of a big deal for that program. And I just think it's fun to see another program on the rise. Okay, a lot said, Becca. Which games do you want to regroup on? talk a little bit more on? What do you got?
So just going back to the number 6 Michigan on how they were upset by unranked Washington. That Avery Howell, let's not forget, she transferred from USC. She was one of the many guards that USC had at the time, and she just really found her own and her home out there at Washington. The crazy thing to me is Michigan just really struggled to score, and every facet. I mean, you had even texted me like, "Is anybody missing?" And I'm like, "No, like everybody's here. It's just a struggle." But let's not forget a couple days before, while they're out on their road trip, they won in overtime against Oregon. So not only did they have a close call a couple days before, but they're on the road for 7 days going and playing this. We've talked about before, how would that impact these Big Ten programs going all the way out to the West Coast, and what effect would that have on them travel wise and just overall mindset? So that for me, I thought was crazy. And also Michigan came back. This score was a bit more of a gap, but Michigan came back just by their full court press and the fact that Washington couldn't break it. And I was going a little crazy because Washington had played such a good game. And to see the last, no joke, 7 minutes just kind of turn to Michigan pressing them and Washington turning the ball over, I think Michigan now knows their full court press is something that, in a struggle, it can create offense, it can create turnovers. So it might be something they look to go to more on. But I thought this one was a real shocker. Great for Washington getting a big key win on the map. I don't know when they could say they beat a top 10 team last. So good win for them. But definitely something for Michigan to take back and look at that game film as to what happened.
Yeah, awesome points there, Becca. I just think I'll mention it again here, like that Big Ten schedule is brutal because you're crossing the country. Whether you're the West Coast team that's got to come over and play in the Midwest or on the East Coast, even when you got to play Rutgers and Maryland, and it spans the entire country, coast to coast, and they try to make these long travel trips where you play 2 or 3 games at a time, which makes sense. But then you're on the road, and that's hard. So yeah, I think it definitely probably weighed on them, and especially coming off that OT loss or OT win, to Oregon. I think their legs were probably a little gassed there for sure. I think a ton of upsets here, but I think there's going to be more. I just think it might be a crazy January here with conference and a lot of the parity in the game and the strength of some of these conferences that we cover. We cover a lot of the top 25, obviously. That's where we kind of focus our time. And I think we're going to just continue to see this jumble and mix up with some of these upsets. So there's so many good teams in the SEC. There's so many good teams in the Big Ten. ACC is going to beat itself up like every conference, right? So we're going to really see who's going to come out on top here. And it's gotten off to a crazy start. That's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, there's 2 more that I want to jump into, but let's go to our second quarter where we're going to talk more about Notre Dame specifically. 2 conference losses in 1 week, and not even 1 week, 4 days. It leaves a sour taste in your mouth, especially because of all the other games they have coming up against what would be classified as quote unquote big time opponents. For us to have 2 L's here kind of makes it hard to swallow. Just looking back on that game against Georgia Tech, it was obvious we were tired. It was obvious we were out of sorts. The one thing that we had to focus on was just the defensive presence and locking in possession after possession. And it was really interesting to see Georgia Tech's offense because they were able to play mid-range, set screens, slip screens, hit the roller, and Notre Dame just didn't communicate, didn't have a game plan, or didn't execute the game plan in order to make sure that they were all matched up. There were so many slips and just easy little bunnies. I was really disappointed. I know we don't really have a big post presence with just having Cal out there, but it just was weird to see us not communicating and understanding who had who and how players got so wide open. Hannah was definitely tired in this game. You could tell that. And it's not fair that it's all on her. It is truly all on her. She knows that. Her post-game press conference was, I'm going to do whatever I have to do for my team. I get bumped around. I take hits, but I know my team needs me out there. So we were really hoping to see kind of a comeback when they went out to play Duke today. And unfortunately, they just didn't have it. I mean, the praise I'm going to give them is this game could have got a lot uglier if they didn't continue to stay in it and try to fight and claw back. But Duke has really turned the corner. Their defense on Hannah was insane. They had one girl stepping off of shooters that weren't maybe that great and always sucking in towards her when she went to go on the drive. So you had different phases of Hannah, at times frustrated, at times looked exhausted, at times just looked overwhelmed with the amount of magnitude that was on her. And that's fair because all of that happens in the course of a game. I just think she needs more help. We have a short bench. At one point, I think it was quoted, Niele said, I'm only comfortable going 6 deep, which is one player off the bench. I know KK Bradsford is injured. We don't really know when she's going to be back. It's just tough. It's absolutely tough to not have the subs, have the experience. The players we have are grad transfers, so like they're going to be gone next year as it is, and we have a good class coming in, but you also worry about injury. You worry about transfer portal at this point. It's just, I don't want the excuse to be like, well, we kind of knew this year would be an off year. We'll be lucky if we'll be 500. And that's what a lot of people in the community have said or posted about. And it hurts my heart to know that that's kind of like where Notre Dame's at right now, because you don't want that, right? You coming from Tennessee, that competitive nature and what we do and how we play and reload and repeat, right? We're not taking years or decades off. And it's tough to see this. I will say, with the Georgia Tech loss, it was only the second loss in school history to Georgia Tech. And both of those came under Niele. One was in 2020 and then one was in 2025. So it wasn't an opponent we took lightly, and I'm not saying this team did. I just think the emphasis and focus on the defensive end has to be like, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't even worry about the offense, because if you can't play lock-in, lock-up defense, every possession, this team is going to struggle night in and night out, period. We just don't have Cass Prosper's taking on a lot more. Shout out to her, but it's just not enough, especially when you have Hannah going and going and going. Plus, as I mentioned, a nice win over Georgia Tech and Duke would have helped, especially since we have North Carolina, Louisville, and UConn coming up. Those are 3 top 25 teams, while we probably just fell out of the top 25. Not that matters, right? An upset can happen any time, any place. It's just, we're going to have to know that this conference stretch here is going to be tough. I will also say regarding Duke, I 1,000% agree with you. I think they've completely learned a lot of what those losses early on were. When would we ever say 5 Duke starters were all in double figures? Would we ever say that? Do you remember us saying one? They only had one girl in double figures. That's why they lost. So in that game against Notre Dame, they had 5 starters all in double figures. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And honestly, watching both those games, like not impressed by either team. Right. So like we've watched a lot of these top 25 matchups. We've watched a lot of the top tier teams play, the Texases, the UConns, the South Carolinas. I just think that there's a huge gap right now from like the top 4 to everybody else a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we know when the rankings come out, the top 4 are going to stay at the top 4, right? Right. Those are the ones that are the consistent. They've been challenged, and we won't say the games this week. Texas was challenged. South Carolina was challenged. They had good games, but they found wins. So those top 4, I think, are pretty written in pen at this point.
Yeah. And I think the Notre Dame conversation, we wanted to make it an entire quarter. The same with Tennessee coming up here for the third quarter. Obviously, they're where we play. They're our alma maters. We love these programs. We watch a lot of the games. We've watched them since we played, right? So it's hard for us to see things decline. And so when we see that, we're constantly talking about it and what's going on and what do we need to fix. And I think, and obviously Notre Dame, I didn't play there. I live in the South Bend area, grew up in the South Bend area. So I've always been a Notre Dame fan, right? Like just because I grew up watching Alicia Ratai and Ruth Riley and Niele, right? Like that national championship team got me interested in basketball, like wanting to do that one day. So I'm all behind the Irish. I think that Notre Dame being good is huge for our game, right? What Muffet built at Notre Dame, what Niele is taking over, matters to women's basketball. And I think you mentioned it. We're not okay with 500 seasons and losing multiple games in a season and losing back-to-back conference games. And that's the standard that we live by as Lady Vols, and you all live by at Notre Dame, right? That was what was instilled in us at playing for great coaches and greatness. And so to see back-to-back losses, I think is tough. I think it's really interesting to me to watch Notre Dame right now and the fact that they don't have a full roster. You get 15 scholarships now. And so that's, to me, and I'm no Niele and I'm no college coach here, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm an armchair expert here. But I really think that the entire offseason was mismanaged. I think you are the University of Notre Dame. NIL money matters, but it can't be an excuse for you if you don't feel like you have enough NIL money to go out there and fill your roster. Injuries are going to happen, so you have to make sure you have a full roster nowadays, especially with the transfer portal, especially with the unknowns of the transfer portal. When you have Olivia Miles, Kate Koval transfer out, you have your only recruit that they had out of high school that came in this year, tears her ACL, and heaven forbid, I mean, injuries happen, right? So she is out most of this year. We'll see if she comes back. We don't know. And then you have 6 girls that you feel comfortable playing with. You have a girl that you go who's on the volleyball team and have her join the conference. It's a huge mismanagement in a program that is a blue blood women's basketball program. You're not going to see that mistake at UConn. You're not going to see that mistake at some of these other big programs. And so Notre Dame needs to figure out how to get back on that track, and they will. They have the number 2 recruiting class next year, right? So they've got 5 high school recruits they're going to reload with. We'll see what happens if girls transfer out and who they get from the transfer portal. Also, they're going to reload it. But to your point, like, we're not okay with having an off season. And that's how I feel about with Tennessee. Like, and we've had many of them since Pat left. Like, it's been a whole different program, and we're going to get into that in quarter number 3. So I just think from my side, stepping out, I didn't play in the program. So just eyes outside of the program looking in. It's a mind-boggling one. I think Notre Dame is going to struggle because they have no depth. And that is and you and I know this. The season is so long. You get beat up. If you're having to go out there and play 40 minutes every game and put the game on your shoulders like Hannah Hidalgo's having to do, she's going to continue to break those records because she has to, right? She's approaching Skylar Diggins' all-time steals record. She's going to shatter that in a couple games here. So, I mean, kudos to her. She's trying the best she can, but like, you need depth. You just do.
Yeah. And another record that Hannah has is she scored in double digits every college game. Every single game. That's amazing. Yeah. She's a one-on-one player and she deserves all the accolades and records because she works so hard and she plays so hard. And that's somebody who, when you have them on your team, they make you want to be better. I just think this team, there's not enough practice time and not enough focus on every possession, right? When we were in college, every possession was so important. We knew the offense. We switched our defense because of it. Like, there's just so much more that goes into it. And again, I think NIL and the times have just changed so much that I'm gonna go to Kurt Signetti for a sec from IU football. Yeah. Like, you're either gonna be in the business or you're not. You either learn it, understand it, and you're successful with it, or you struggle a bit. So I think one thing with the transfer portal that just, I'm going to highlight these 2 individuals specifically. It's a bit bittersweet and hard to swallow that they transferred out of Notre Dame. But I think it's worth highlighting and mentioning the fact and reminiscing on what if and what could have been, because I think these 2 players and the development that they've brought has really, really would have changed our game if they would have stayed at Notre Dame. So the first one obviously is Olivia Miles, killing it at TCU. She has had 4 triple doubles in the month of December. 4 triple doubles in the last 6 games. So a triple double, for those of us who aren't really sure, double that's at least 10 or more in 3 categories. It could be points, rebounds, assists, points, steals, assists. It's any sort of 3. You don't want a negative one like a turnover one. That's not a good triple double. But Olivia has had 15, 10, and 11, 15, 11, and 10, 25, 10, and 11, 29, 8, and 4, 12, 12, and 10, 31. I mean, she's just absolutely killing it. And she's having a blast while she's out there. She's definitely playing as if she's rolling it up at a playground. And there's a good and bad to that, right? Sometimes it's a quick shot. It's hard to manage, I think, as a coach. But I mean, the TCU coach is just letting her go out there and play. And they just lost their first game, so they've only lost one. So she is one of 3 of the top 10 NCAA all-time triple-double leaders in women's college basketball. She's now in the company of Sabrina Ionescu, who's had 26 triple-doubles, Caitlin Clark, who's had 17 triple-doubles, and right now Liv is flirting with 10 triple-doubles. So if she's on this path, she could pass Caitlin Clark at this point with the amount of playmaking and consistency that she's bringing. I just think I look at this and I'm so happy for her. And it's like, man, I just wish she would have stayed at Notre Dame and her and Hannah, everything would have worked out and they would have, but it's not the case. So shout out to Liv for just killing it and doing her thing. This next player that I want to highlight that again transferred out of Notre Dame is Kate Koval. I'm going to read a bit, so bear with me, folks. But Kate Koval is from Ukraine. So her family is over there. She started at Notre Dame last year and then transferred, and now she's at LSU. But there's a bit of a story that I just want to tell just about her journey off the court, what's happened, and how it's kind of catapulted her to success on the court. On February 24th, 2020, Kate Koval played in a high school game in New York while Russia invaded Ukraine. A phone sat on the bench, allowed by officials in case her parents called while evacuating Kiev. It never rang. She finished the game without knowing if her family was safe. That night, basketball wasn't an escape. It was the only thing she could control. Kate's parents lived near the center of Kiev. Her mother and siblings were eventually able to leave Ukraine, but her father could not. Under Ukrainian law, men aged 18 to 60 were required to stay. Her dad remained behind to support the war effort. At first, Kate begged to find him a way out, but he told her every man should protect his home, his land, his country. This is the normal. Her mother later explained that while it was painful, her daughter understood, and Kate had spoken about the guilt of being safe while her family was not, and the weight of continuing her career while her home country was under attack. Basketball became a tether to her family, not a distraction from them. Even after relocating to the U.S., Ukraine never left Kate. She called her parents daily. She followed news alerts between classes and practices. She learned her childhood gym in Kiev was bombed. She lost a friend while others fled the country. Her grandmother's basement, once a place for holidays, became a bomb shelter. Through it all, Kate played, not because it was easy, but because it was a way to honor where she came from. When it came time to choose a college, Kate wasn't chasing the hype. She wanted safety, stability, and people who felt like family. She chose Notre Dame at first, a place that gave her structure while her home was fractured. Later, she transferred to LSU, where her role expanded and her game flourished. In Baton Rouge, she found confidence, consistency, and a space to grow on her own terms. At LSU, Kate Koval is doing what she always was capable of, anchoring the paint, rebounding at an elite level, finishing efficiency, and protecting the rim. She's averaging a double digits and leading the team in blocks. Kim Mulkey calls her steady. Teammates call her grounded. Her presence changes games quietly but powerfully. I just think that story, and it's extremely touching to me because I played in Ukraine the first time in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea. So I see her, and while she was at Notre Dame, I was always like, man, how can we use that body? How can we get her game to the next level, right? And maybe there was just a lot of distractions, rightfully so, stuff out of her control, having her family abroad, being here in the States and just having to make it work. But it's just really good to see her bounce back through adversity, and obviously being driven by a purpose that's bigger than just ball, but knowing where she came from and wanting to represent. And she truly has double-digit scoring. Her rebounding percentage is up. She's doing a lot better at LSU. And again, just want to give her props and kudos for what she's been through, how she's managed it, and where she is. And in the back of my head right here, I'm just like, oh man, if we only could have kept her, right? But again, just wanted to highlight 2 transfers that left Notre Dame, and kind of it's all about fit and the environment and where you feel comfortable and able to grow. So props to those 2 athletes for knowing they needed something different and getting it and expanding their game.
Yeah, super powerful, Becca. Thank you for that, because that's important here, right? Like, it puts perspective that these players are out there and they have families and lives, and like, we don't think about that, right? We watch them when they're on the court and don't think about what's going on off the court. And I think certainly to this day, Kate Koval has a lot on her plate with her family. I can't imagine being that far, even if everything was okay, right? Like, even if your family was safe and everything was normal, being that far at a pivotal time in your life in college, like, I mean, you stayed close to home. I was at Tennessee, but I could get home if I needed to. And she's got the opposite going on, where she obviously is not going to go home and has all of that weight of what's going on over there. So that's super impactful. I think when I watch her now, it's just gonna be a different way that I watch her almost, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Cool. All right. So a lot about Notre Dame there and some of the transfers out. I think we can shift to our third quarter here and talk about the Tennessee Lady Vols. So just wanted to also give my 2 cents and pulse on the Lady Vols and where we're at this year. Not a horrible start to the season, but definitely could be better. And I think we have to pick that up ASAP, living in the SEC conference, right? Because we live in that SEC conference and it is brutal, especially this year. There's a lot of good teams. But I think taking a step back for me, having played all 4 years for Pat, was a part of a national championship, was a part of that culture. And again, I'll say the word standard of what it means to be a Lady Vol, of what it means to show up every single game, every single half, every single quarter, every single possession, and win. And that's what Pat embodied, whether we were running sprints in Stokely my freshman season for conditioning, whether you're in the weight room doing a push press, whatever it is, like, you win at everything. And I think that's missing a little bit here. And obviously, Kim Caldwell is a whole new coach. I do think it's a good thing that they maybe went outside the Lady Vol family, didn't bring in a previous player, brought in somebody totally fresh. And I like that. She came in with a fresh style of play. Also, we've talked about it a ton. It's the hockey subs and the fast pace and the 3 balls, and not really a focus on defense, which is the exact opposite of what Pat preached. So it is a different style game, certainly. But there's something that doesn't change to me, and it's that standard and what it means to be a Lady Vol. And that, just because Pat moves on, which is going to happen for all coaches. Gino's going to move on at some point, whatever it is. Tara Vanderveer steps away recently. Like, everyone moves on. You have to keep that program standard going, and it's really fallen off for the Lady Vols. So I think it's tough for me. You know, you're seeing a glimpse of it with Notre Dame losing back-to-back conference games. I've seen that already a lot since I've stepped away or since I've left Tennessee, and the program has slowly, in my opinion, kind of been on a decline. It was exciting last year to see something fresh, to see us beat teams like UConn, right? We were, I thought, exiting last season. Obviously, we wanted to go deeper in the tournament, but exiting the tournament, I was thinking to myself, we should be pretty good next year. We had a really strong recruiting class come in, and I watch our games this year, and I don't see that same offensive, what do I want to say? I don't see that same offensive strength that we had last year, where we're putting up 90, 100 points against good teams. Like, we're struggling to put up points right now, which is weird. So if you're going to try to play the style, it's almost like the style has been wiped away. I don't know if it's scouting. I don't know if she doesn't have the right personnel, but she should have the right personnel, right? She has a lot of her recruits in there now. So it's weird to see us take a big step back this year. I thought, if anything, she had to step in last year. A lot of those same recruits were there that she didn't recruit, a lot of that same team. And it was kind of like that buffer year. And I thought this year we were going to come out and be much better, right? And I think we're not. That's where I'm at. Just watching the games, high level. I'm not trying to get into all the stats and blah, blah, blah. We're not good to me right now. And that's like the flat out truth. We're not going to be able to compete with those top 10 teams consistently like you need to in the SEC to win the SEC. And then come tournament time, when you've got to win every single game that you play, and it gets tougher and tougher and tougher as you win, like, no way. I think we'll make the tournament. I'm not worried about that. But I'm worried about our standard and how every year more and more of that slips. Every year we get older, players get younger, and they don't know what it means to wear that orange uniform with the baby blue accent. And that was built over decades by somebody like a Pat Summitt, who really was pivotal in putting women's basketball on the map. Tennessee should be one of those blue blood programs, and to see it slip and slip and slip, and the way we've started this year, I'm nervous it's going to continue to slip. I'm nervous we're not going to be able to bounce back and have a good SEC season, SEC conference. We're 2-0 in the conference right now. I'm hating right now. I totally am. We could turn this around.
Pat Summitt Tennessee standard. It
is.
That's what you're bringing right now.
It totally is. I remember winning games by 11, 12 points, and it was we lost.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was the Florida game to me recently that happened this past week, where we played at home. We got off to a decent start. We should have absolutely beat Florida by 20, 25. And we let them hang around, didn't really put the nail in the coffin, didn't look like we had the sense of urgency that we needed. Defense, I thought we did not play good defense. I can go down the line. Watching it was hard. It was really hard. And we're 2-0 in the conference. We're 10-3 overall. It's not a horrible start to the season, but I just know what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
We lost that Louisville game, and that happened on the 20th. And I just think we've really kind of fallen off here, right? So we lost to Louisville 89-65. It wasn't even close, right?
I mean, to have a team like Tennessee and her style of play of running and gunning and launching threes, right? To only have 65 points and to know you have fresh legs coming in consistently, and whether they want to just take the three or not, 65 points from a Tennessee team with a full, you're talking they used 15 scholarships. They have players on that bench. So
yeah, opposite of Notre Dame.
Yeah,
right?
I'm just sitting here dang, I would love to have just 5 extra right over here. But so I want a question, and maybe it's when you say you see the past, the Tennessee Lady Vols of the past kind of slipping from this new generation. We know there's a new coach. We know there's a new style. Is it more the basketball aspect or the mindset that you see is kind of being removed from what made Tennessee so great?
I think it's the mindset of the current players that don't know what uniform they're wearing. That don't know what previous players and certainly what Pat Summitt did to make the Lady Vol brand what it was and what it should be. Mm-hmm. And so when they show up on campus, and it's a lot different now, right? We've got players that show up who maybe play 1 year and transfer out or transfer in from another school. And you weren't recruited in high school like we all were,
right?
Where you make that conscious decision to be a Lady Vol and what that actually means and all the work you're going to have to put in. That mindset is just gone. I think.
Well, and money's involved, so that makes it even more.
Yeah.
Right. You're only paying attention to where dollar signs are because that possibly feeds families. That possibly gets me a car. Right. There's different motives that add to it, and that just makes it hard.
Yeah, and I'm a part of a Facebook group. It's called the 161. So there's 161 players that played for Pat. Everyone in that, every player that's still living has that Facebook invite, and they're in part of the group, and it's only us. And so it gets juicy, right? Because you've got a lot of these ex-players who played for Pat, who went through all the strength and conditioning, all of those timeouts and tough practices, and just the expectations of what Pat had, and just to kind of see us, I think it's almost like a lackadaisical when you watch us play, where it's just so different. And I don't think there's the true, I know what it means to be a Lady Vol factor anymore. And that's hard to watch when you watch games. So, and I would love it if I'm wrong here and we turn around and we win this conference and Tennessee looks great. I would love it. I just don't see it happening based on the previous games. They're going to really have to go to work here. Again, they're not putting up the points that they put up last year. So you're going to lose in the SEC. And It's tough for me to watch this. Again, we're 2-0 right now. It's not like we've lost yet, but like I see it coming. It's going to happen, right? We're not going to beat the LSUs, the Kentucky's. Kentucky's better than us. Vanderbilt's better than us. I don't see us stopping Michaela Blake's right now. Granted, a lot of teams probably will struggle to stop her, but like we don't play the defense to do it. So if we're not going to put together the exact game plan that we need to, I think we're going to be average in the SEC, and that's really tough. I think Ole Miss is really good this year. Granted, South Carolina right now, they're not putting up a ton of points either, really, but they're a better basketball team than we are right now. So it's just tough to watch, right? Like, so
yeah,
I have to look at this, and I was excited coming into this season. For the first time in a long time, I was like, hey, we should be pretty good this year. I'm hoping we got better in the offseason. We got these recruits in. Let's go to work. Then you have instances and situations like Ruby Whitehorn, who got arrested in August and gets arrested again in October and is dismissed from the team. That was a huge blow to us. That was a lot of points. That was a big athlete for us. She was a big player for us. So it can't be an excuse, though, right? Like it's like you said, you got a full roster. I'm just a little concerned as a Lady Vol. And there's been a couple, I'm not on message boards, but there's been a couple of things that I've seen where you've got, hey, I've been a season ticket holder for 20 years and it's so hard to watch right now. I don't feel like I don't feel the same connection with players because every year it's new players, and that's happening everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And so to see Lady Vol fans that are like, I don't think I'm going to renew my season tickets, and I've been there for 20 years in those seats, like things like that, where you're just like, man, this is hard to watch.
Yeah. It's interesting. All the teams you said that you're a little worried about. I'm just looking at Tennessee's schedule, and the next challenge they have is Kentucky on the 22nd of Jan. And then the 26th of Jan, they play Ole Miss. Then February, it's just 5 out of the 8 games are just ranked opponents. UConn, South Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU. And then they finish the conference against Vandy. I mean, that is tough. Looking at that schedule, that's going to be a tough one because it's a lot of those are back to back, and we know how hard those games are, especially the high caliber basketball that they're going to have to go against, where maybe Tennessee isn't there or doesn't get there, or maybe they do, but it's going to have to be you're on and locked in every night.
Yeah, and we've got the player Cooper, right? She's capable of coming out and putting the team on her back. Barker's good. Spearman's good. Like, we've got the players to do this thing. I just don't know what's happened to the style. Like, if you're going to come in and bring that style, then you need to stick to it, and it better be working. And I just don't think it's working. Like you mentioned, we're about to play UConn coming up here. We beat them last year. I think UConn's going to turn around this year and be like, yeah, no mercy. Like, no mercy on this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it's just, we have the athletes. We got to figure it out. And we got to, I don't know what it is. I hope in practices that they're absolutely just working on every little thing and going to work in the film room. Shoot, don't even pick up a ball. Just watch film. Like,
and if you pick up a ball, maybe get on the shooting gun and do 1,000 3-pointers if that's all you want to pull. Like, daily.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day. We had Tess Darby last year, right? Yeah. So she's an inherited player. She was there before. And Kim Caldwell comes in. She stays on the team. Tess Darby played a lot of minutes last year. She was just a pure 3-point shooter. And that worked in the style. Tess Darby had one of her best seasons. We don't have somebody that's consistently knocking down 3-point shots. And so playing the style isn't really working out. Like,
there's a lot of athletes. You guys have a lot of crazy good athletes, but not knock down 3-point spot shooter smooth.
Yeah. We need that combination of athlete, but yet your fundamentals are dialed and you're a good shooter. And to me, like, it's missing. Yeah. So I'm hoping they're going to work and they're figuring it out. And it's all strategy. We talk about it as a chess game, right? Like, every single game you do your scout and you figure out where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are versus that team. And I hope that this staff can figure some of that out where we can win some of these crucial SEC games. But I'm a little nervous that's not going to happen. That's where I'm at, which is a little disheartening watching the Lady Vols right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I can relate. The games are changing. And when things if it's not broke, don't fix it. And then everybody comes in and everything changes, and then the game changes, and then the players, it's a lot. That's for sure. So I sympathize.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's jump to our fourth quarter. Texas. But remember, not that one. The one in the Big 12. Texas Tech, the Lady Raiders. First of all, they're currently rolling and one of the only 4 undefeated teams. They have one key win over a ranked opponent, and that was on December 21st. They beat number 15 at the time, Baylor, by 1 point. Their next real true ranked test will be at the end of January against Iowa State. We should mention, though, between those games, they do have to visit and play BYU, who just upset Arizona State, who was also undefeated. So Texas Tech will play BYU on the 21st. I'm highlighting this team for many, many reasons, the last one being the most special. But this team went and hit the transfer portal hard, looking for defense, toughness, and just overall fit. One of their guards, Snudda Collins, transferred from Kansas State, dynamic scorer, instant offense, Big 12 experience. Gemma Nunes, point guard, transferred from Arizona, a veteran floor general, strong positive assist to turnover efficiency, which is huge, sets tempo and brings defense. Jada Malone is a forward, a transfer from Utah, super versatile player who contributes defensively and also on the glass, just can guard multiple positions and is physical. The last one, the asterisk times a million. They are bringing in, and I can't say her last name, so I'm so sorry, but Stephanie O. She's a center. This is a mid-season addition. This one, she's a center from Nigeria. She is 7'1". She will be the tallest player in women's basketball history with a wingspan of 7'4". She's an elite rim protector and defensive presence. She's currently here stateside in Texas Tech Raider uniforms, waiting for full NCAA eligibility as early as January. Why this matters is even before playing a minute, the addition of her on this team raises their defensive ceiling, which is what they already hit the transfer portal to add. Her presence dramatically alters shots and strengthens interior defense. I'm just going to tell you, my family and I were passing around videos of her because, sometimes and it's just, if you're 7'1", maybe you're not as coordinated. Maybe you're, you know what I mean? Kind of like Brittany Griner style. She was athletic, but it was still slowed down to some degree. Sid, this girl can shoot threes. She can rim run. She can block. She doesn't even jump. She just stands there. It's going to be gnarly. And I'm just going to say, if she gets clearance before the Iowa State game at the end of January, it's going to be, she's obviously, she's very tall and lengthy. Versus Audie Crooks inside. This might be one of the times I don't know if Audie Crooks gets a shot off because the girl doesn't have to move or jump. She just stands there. Her wingspan covers the whole paint. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. This is the tallest player ever. Shout out to Texas Tech's women's coaching staff who put in a lot of time and effort, went abroad to go get her, recruited her over there, called her daily, made those touch points so that she felt comfortable, just like Kate Koval, even before, or other players. Louisville, they have a roster full of overseas players. I just think they are tapping into an unclaimed market. If this girl gets cleared midseason, yikes.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely insane. I cannot wait to watch her play. And also, maybe the NCAA tournament, just kind of foreshadowing, which would be really cool if this happens. I would love to watch her play against Lauren Betts.
Yeah.
Who's another tall player, not as tall, but certainly tall enough to contend there on the height scale. And
I'm telling you, Sid, even if she gets pushed out, the length is wild. I purposely didn't want to share this with you yet, so I'm going to send you a video. The one I saw of her doing a workout and then in games. And I was like, yeah.
That's crazy.
The tempo and the speed of college will be definitely different for her because she's used to just dominating at whatever pace she wants. But yeah, 7'1". Playing Brittany Griner for me was a maximum holy shit moment. So I couldn't imagine a couple more inches. That would have been pretty crazy.
Yeah. And it makes a difference too when you've got those huge players on the court when you're trying to play basketball and they're posting you up and getting rebounds. And it's Oh, speaking of UCLA, have to say it. Did you watch UCLA and did you see that Sienna Betts is out there?
I did. Sienna Betts is out there and playing. So I think it's great. It gives Lauren, she subs in a lot for Lauren, so it's kind of like a 1-for-1, but I think it's good to get Lauren some breaks to kind of reset and refocus. And I think Sienna's kind of raw and unfazed right now, right? I think she's doing pretty well.
Yeah, they absolutely hooped on USC there, but
yeah.
Random thing. So they had Cheryl Miller and Reggie Miller. Did you see that in the stands?
Yeah.
Like sitting by each other. I was like, that is so cool. And also I felt like an idiot because I'm like, I never really realized that they were siblings.
What?
I mean, Miller is such a common last name.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever hear the story? Like, I'm going to butcher the amount, but he came home from playing in like middle school days and or maybe he was even elementary. And he was like, you'll never guess how many points I got, bragging to his sister. And he was like, oh, I got like 58. And then she was like, I got 68. And like, that was when
That's amazing.
The competition started. I was like, could you imagine just in middle school days or maybe even high school dropping 60?
I'm sitting there. I was like, I feel like I thought I knew a lot about basketball. And then I was like, nope, I'm an idiot that I never put that together. It's like one of those things where they're like a little before our generation.
Yeah.
Like we were little kids when like Reggie Miller was running amok in Indy and like, so I'm like looking up the family. Their older brother played professional baseball. They're just like freak athletes.
An athlete family, freak athletes.
Yeah. Wow. Super tangent that we just went on there, but it was fun. That was a fun game to watch the past week too. I mean, obviously SC's down a little bit with Juju being out, but I thought UCLA looked really good. They're again proving why they belong in that top four right now area in the country. So, all right, we're gonna wrap it up.
I think we have to, or else it could continue. But I think we did a great job covering all of the highs and lows of 4 days into the new year because a lot happened.
It was wild, actually, the past week. Absolutely wild. And it was great because we had a little bit of a lull during the Christmas holiday and certainly it came back with a vengeance, which was fun.
As it always does. We hope everyone had a great holiday season with their family and friends and a great happy new year. Let's all start off 2026 kicking its butt.
That's right. Follow us on our socials. Becca does an awesome job keeping that rolling. Shout out to Becca also, who did a lot of the notes and prep for today's episode.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Becca.
Sid. All good.
You rock.
All right. No, you rock. I appreciate you and can't wait to do this again next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks all. Talk to you soon, Beck.
See you, Sid. That's the 28.5 final buzzer for today's episode. Don't forget to hit follow and download on your preferred podcast platform to catch every play-by-play. New episodes drop each week throughout the season.
If you've enjoyed our courtside chat, drop us a review or follow us on our social media accounts where you can send us questions that may be selected for our Team Huddle Q&A episodes. And remember, from females who have played the game, the size of the ball matters.